The movie begins showing a terrified woman in a dark place full of cars. She looks around, searching for something or someone. Suddenly her phone rings and she reads a message that makes her even more nervous. She then places the car keys in a hole in the rear tire and runs away. Shortly after, we meet the main character, Kenny, a 19-year-old with a boring life. He lives with his mother and younger sister and works as a waiter in a restaurant. Kenny is kind and friendly. He likes doing good for others. At work, he is loved by everyone, even by customers who fall for his altruism and sweetness. On one occasion, Kenny gives a toy to a little girl and says goodbye to her, who smiles and leaves happily. One day, upon arriving home, Kenny realizes that his laptop has disappeared. While searching, he discovers his sister was using it. Irritated, he takes it away and scolds her, as if there was something forbidden on that laptop. Then, when trying to access the internet, Kenny discovers that his laptop has been infected with a virus. Hi, the movie I'm going to summarize is actually a series called Black Mirror. The episode is Shut Up and Dance. Like and subscribe to the channel to receive the best summaries. He desperately tries to remove it, but without success. When nothing works, Kenny downloads antivirus software from an illegal site. Once installed, the virus is removed from the laptop. However, without him noticing, the laptop camera also mysteriously activates, indicating someone is watching him. That night, Kenny locks his bedroom door and begins to pleasure himself. He explores various sites looking for interesting content. However, during this process, he suddenly receives an email from an unknown person. The message states, "We have witnessed what you did." Along with the email, there is also an attached video, and when playing it, Kenny is extremely shocked. The unknown person has apparently invaded his laptop and recorded him pleasuring himself. Before Kenny can understand what's happening, another email appears, threatening to blackmail him to send his cell phone number. Otherwise, the video will be posted online. Fearful, Kenny has no choice but to do what the hacker orders. Time passes without news, until one day he receives a text message on his phone. The message tells him not to turn off GPS and keep the battery charged. The sender also warns that Kenny will be activated when the time comes. He panics and tries to negotiate with the person, but only receives a "stay put." After that, Kenny has no further contact, but lives in anguish. At home, he barely talks to family and isolates himself in his room. At work, things also go badly. The Kenny who was kind and lively is now just a shadow of himself. He lives in silence and lost, which causes his boss to scold him several times. A week later, Kenny sees his nightmare become reality when the mysterious person contacts him. They send him an address, demanding Kenny arrive there before noon. If he doesn't obey, his video will be exposed. Afraid, Kenny immediately requests medical leave and runs to the location by bicycle. There, he sees no one, so he notifies the sender that he's waiting. Then he receives a message to wait. Shortly after, a young man appears on a motorcycle. He hands Kenny a package without saying anything and takes his picture. Kenny realizes that the young man is also sending the photo to someone and concludes that he's also being blackmailed by the hacker. This means there are several victims in this situation. The young man leaves, and Kenny receives another message on his phone with another address and room number. The hacker orders him to take the package there. Obeying without choice what he's been ordered, Kenny heads to the destination in fear. He peeks at the package's contents and sees it's a cake. In the next scene, Kenny arrives at the indicated room and rings the bell, but no one answers. He says he brought a package, but it's no use. At that moment, the hacker tells him to use the name Mindy. As soon as Kenny does this, a man named Hector opens the door nervously. He is also being blackmailed by the hacker. Hector asks angrily what's going on, and Kenny says he was sent there by someone unknown. When Hector takes his phone and reads the messages, he discovers the boy is also a victim. They are interrupted when the hacker sends a message to Hector. It states that now both must join forces and deliver the package to a specific location. In the parking lot, they find a car available for this mission. It's the same vehicle left by the woman in the opening scene. While driving to the designated destination, Kenny and Hector reflect on their bad actions. Kenny admits he was watching videos and pleasuring himself when he was recorded by the hacker. Now, he faces the threat of the video being posted online if he doesn't follow orders. In this context, Hector reveals he's married with a daughter. He deeply loves his family, and there are no problems in his marriage. However, on a drunken night, he hired an online escort named Mindy. The slacker sent compromising photos to her while chatting, without thinking of the consequences. That's when the hacker captured his messages and began blackmailing him. Hector fears that if his wife discovers this, she'll divorce him and take their daughter. Kenny listens to all this and becomes desperate, crying a lot, but Hector tries to calm him, saying everything will be okay. He believes that after completing their tasks, they'll be freed. They will never be freed. After some time, they arrive at the indicated location. The hacker sends a message saying there are some objects inside the cake they must take. When they look, they find a pair of sunglasses, a cap, and a gun. This terrifies them, and they wonder why they need a gun. At that moment, the hacker sends another message. They want to know who will drive and who will rob. Hector and Kenny look at each other, stunned, and soon realize they're in front of a bank. Fear takes over them, and they think about giving up the mission. But then Hector sees his family is in danger, so he speaks firmly and says he'll stay at the wheel. He was clever, the easier task. Kenny still doesn't have the courage to continue with the mission, but after Hector tells him about the consequences if his video leaks, he reluctantly agrees. Kenny puts on the sunglasses and cap, takes the gun, and enters the bank. He quickly points the gun at the teller and orders her to hand over all the money she has. While doing this, Kenny is so nervous that he completely wets himself, but luckily, none of the bank employees react, and they hand over all the money without problems. After that, Kenny runs outside the bank and gets in the car. Hector floors the accelerator, completing the mission successfully. Shortly after, they receive a message from the hacker saying something is missing. They sent them an address where they must go now. Both arrive there and see it's a desolate place with a forest in the distance. Then Hector receives another message, ordering him to blow up the car. As for Kenny, he has to take the money bag and walk into the forest. The hacker assures this is their last mission, and that after this, they'll be free. After that, the two say goodbye and take different paths. When Kenny reaches the forest, he finds a man waiting for him. There's also a large package nearby. Seeing this, Kenny thinks the man is the same hacker who's threatening him. Before Kenny can accuse him, the man tells him he was forced to open the package and activate the device. The device is, in fact, a drone. Kenny then understands that the man is also a target. They look at each other in fear and amazement, and the man asks, "Are you ready?" Kenny doesn't know what's going to happen, and the man says they'll have to face each other. The winner takes the money. Kenny is scared and asks who will decide the winner. At that moment, the hacker sends a text message. "Fight to the death." This means only one of them will leave alive. Terrified, Kenny takes his gun and points it at the man. Not being a killer, he points it at himself, but when pulling the trigger, he discovers the gun never had bullets. The man takes advantage of this opportunity and lunges at Kenny, and the real battle begins. However, Hector has an unpleasant surprise when returning home. He sees a mocking image sent by the hacker, and when he goes to his wife's room, he finds her crying. The hacker didn't keep their promise and revealed his betrayal to his wife. Hector is devastated by the discovery and doesn't know what to say. In another scene, the same woman from the beginning appears. She also receives a mocking image on her phone, showing that her secret was exposed. When the woman nervously turns on her computer, she sees that her racist attack was published in the news, ruining her reputation. The motorcycle man meets the same fate. Whatever scandal he was hiding was revealed, and his family is questioning him. I wonder what he was hiding. At the end, we return to Kenny, who seems to have emerged victorious from the fight. Although he doesn't know how. He's hurt and bleeding, but at least has the money in his hands. However, while crawling home, he also receives the troll face image on his phone. Shortly after, his mother calls him. When he answers, she asks, crying, if he was watching forbidden videos of children. This reveals, surprisingly, that Kenny is a pedophile who was enjoying illegal content. While his mother continues sobbing on the phone, he doesn't say a word and simply hangs up. In the final scene, some police officers arrive and arrest Kenny. He doesn't react or say anything. This ending surprised me. I confess that at first I felt sorry for the boy. But that's all. If you want me to bring more series summaries, write in the comments. If not, I'll just bring movie summaries. So until the next summary.